I wanted to spend a few minutes to talk about the features of Chronus and show you how to add widgets and configure widgets. When you install Chronus from the Play Store, you'll notice that you have an app installed. There are two components to Chronus: the app that is used to configure widgets and the widgets themselves. Let's quickly go into the app, and in here you'll notice that we have help cards that talk about what Chronus is, how to select widgets in Chronus, and it highlights some of the features. At this point, I haven't configured any widgets yet, so the app is telling me that there are no widgets configured. I can, however, get into the help section and the changes list. So this is the About Chronus section where you can view all the recent changes to the latest version of Chronus. And you can also get to the help and support section, where you can view how to information, contact technical support, join us on Twitter, and set up the debug logging. Debug logging is used to tell us if you have problems. You can turn on various debug features, and once you've then run the debug for a little while, you'll be able to go in and send us the debug log. Now, let's start by adding a widget. Chronus uses the standard widget adding features of Android. So you go into Android, long press on the home screen and select widgets. And from here, you can select Chronus as your set of widgets. Chronus contains several widgets. Some of them are professional only or pro version only, such as the Chronus calendar widget. And some of them are available for all users, but the features within it might be pro only. So the first one is Clock Plus Weather. Then we have just the Clock Plus. And the difference with the Clock Plus widgets is that they have the world clock capability. So you can show clocks from different parts of the world in addition to your standard clock. There's the Clock Plus Dash, which allows you to show dash clock extensions with the clock. Then we have the Clock Plus Forecast widget. It's a pro widget. It allows you to not just have the clock, but also show forecast weather details up to 5 days. The Chronus Dash widget is used for showing dash clock extensions. And then there are two Flex widgets. These are widgets that have multiple components that you can turn on and off to show news feeds, calendars, weather, clock, and dash clock extensions. So these widgets support multiple components, and there's a digital and a flex and an analog flex version of the Chronus Flex widget. And then we have the standalone Chronus Forecast widget, the Chronus News widget, which is used to display RSS news sources, Twitter, Feedly, and Reddit. It also supports Pocket for Read It Later support, as well as the various Save for Later features in Feedly, Twitter, etc. The Chronus Tasks widget links into Google Tasks and allows you to view and add and edit tasks through Google Tasks. And lastly, the Chronus Weather widget, which is purely a very basic Chronus Weather widget. I'm going to show the Chronus Flex digital widget, and to place it, you press and hold on it, you drop it on your home screen, and it brings up the configuration. These are all the panels available for the Flex widget: clock, weather, extensions, that's dash clock, newsfeed, calendar events, and then you can set some basic appearance options. Within the clock and alarm section, you'll notice that some features are pro features. The little pro tag shows that these are pro features. That's, for example, changing the default time zone, overriding the tap action, changing the alignment, etc. Most of the other features are available for all users. The ability to show the date, show a week number next to the date, show the next alarm if an alarm is set, display the battery percentage, then things like bolding the hours and the minutes, showing the AM/PM indicator if the device is set to 12-hour mode, not 24-hour mode, bolding the date and alarm, shortening the date. This is using the abbreviation features that when you show the battery or you show the alarm, that the shortened date displays. It makes sense because there's a lot of there's a limited space underneath the alarm, underneath the clock. And then last, the ability to change the colors and the font size. Font size can increase up to 140% or all the way down to 80%. So 80% to 140. I'm going to keep it at, and it's in 5% increments. And I'm going to keep all the settings here as is. The weather panel, on Android 6, you have to allow the permission to access its location. The toggle at the top tells you whether you do or you don't want the weather to display in this widget. I'm going to say yes. Weather sources, there are a multitude of weather sources available. Some of them require a private API key, and you can sign up for those on their websites. For example, Forecast.io and Weather Underground both require an API key. AccuWeather has very limited support, so we would recommend you actually not use AccuWeather because you won't get all the functionality of Chronus. I'm going to stick with Yahoo for now. You can change your update interval, define whether your location should be geolocated. I'm going to say let it be geolocated. You can also define a manually entered location. I'm going to cancel out of that and stick to geo for now. The icon set can be changed by selecting different icon sets. You can get more from the Play Store. I'm going to pick one of these. It's one that I've already installed. The weather style for Chronus is either standard or classic. Classic matches the style that was used in the original clock widget in CyanogenMod. I prefer classic myself, but standard is also a nice view and it shows more information. Metric, whether the wind speed should be in kilometers an hour, meters per second, etc. And then various other things around changing the font size, showing and changing the font colors, etc. Extensions is for dash clock extensions. I'm not going to enable any extensions at this point, but you can add extensions by turning on Show Extensions and then picking from the list of extensions the available extensions that you want to show. At this point, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go next. Newsfeed. This is to add a scrolling newsfeed to the Flex widget. We'll talk about that in a minute when it comes to the actual news widget. But we support RSS, Twitter, Feedly, and Reddit as news sources, as well as Pocket from a Read It Later capability. Turn on whether you want to display a newsfeed, whether you can pick the different providers, so RSS, the RSS sources, which news sources you want to show. I'm going to pick CBC in Canada just as an example. And let's turn on the calendar as well. In the calendar, you just say whether you want to display the next event. You have to allow permissions. And then you pick the calendar that you want to use. I'm going to pick just one of them. Let's say holidays in Canada just for the sake of it. How much in the future you want to look. And then there are several items that you can configure. Font colors, whether upcoming events should be highlighted, etc. So, in the general appearance section, this is where you can define the widget background and change the dialog style and the info icon colors. These are all pro features, and by getting pro, these will be turned on. So, to show you the widget, there it is. Important thing here is to resize the widget so that all the pieces that you have enabled can show. So for example, here's my newsreader. Tapping on the news icon brings up all the news articles. Tapping on the title. Actually, no, not in this one. That's in the other release. You can mark things as read from here. Tapping on an item in the calendar should take you to that particular calendar item in Google Calendar. It's the first time I'm using Google Calendar on this device, so that's why that's popping up. Anyway, so that is the basics of the Flex widget, how to add it and how to configure it. If I want to change the configuration of this widget, it's very easy. You go into the app, into Chronus. In the dropdown, you can now select the Flex widget. It's only one widget, so it's the only one that will show. And from here, you can configure any of the components. It will immediately reflect or show on the widget itself. A few other things that's important here. Chronus supports the ability to add notifications. both weather and calendar notifications. A weather notification, by adding a weather notification, you can turn it on. You can decide whether it should show a forecast, whether it should be persistent, so non-dismissible, whether it should pulse a light, the priority of the notification, the weather source, whether it's metric, wind speed, all the same settings that you would have elsewhere. So I'm going to say yes to it. And now you should see a weather notification showing up within Chronus, or using Chronus. So that's the notification feature, and you can also back up and restore your widgets. So once you have widgets configured, you can back them up. And if you then want to recover this widget at a later stage, you can just say restore the widget, and you can pick the particular backup file that you want to restore from. So those are the basics of Chronus. Let's quickly show you some of the features in the professional version of Chronus. Different ways of getting it. You can either get to it by trying to pick a feature that is a pro version. It'll prompt you to then get pro. Or you can get to it from the title here. It's the same thing ultimately. You are then taken to the Play Store and you do the Play Store purchase. So let me do that quickly, and then we can continue. Okay, we now have the Pro version purchased from the Play Store, and if you can see that you have the Pro version. If you look at the title here, Chronus Pro 541, you'll also notice that there are new features available. The Chronus Daydream Screensaver is now available. That's a Pro feature. And all the settings are now open. There are no more hidden settings or blocked settings. So for example, the appearance settings, if you remember, that was it was all Pro features, and the last time we looked at it, you can now define background color and pick a color, store that color, archive that color. And you can now have a background color, for example, on the widget. So there you go. Okay, so what I wanted to do next was show a little bit more of the news widget. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new widget. Go into widgets, I'm going to pick Chronus, and I'm going to pick the Chronus news widget, which is this one. Drop it on a new screen. And let's configure this. So a couple of features within the news widget. On the news feed side, you can define whether you want it locked to Wi-Fi updates only. News feeds tend to have a lot of images, so it could use a lot of data. You also have the ability to switch different news providers. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding more than one news provider. So just for sake of example, I'm going to be adding both Feedly and the Reddit news providers. You'll now notice that it shows the 3 providers, and you can configure each one of the settings individually. So the RSS settings, RSS sources, let me pick the same ones as before. So I'm going to pick, I don't know, let's pick the Star and the CBC. Read it later here. I'm going to leave that alone for the time being. We'll show that later. In the Feedly settings, you need to link an account. You need to link an account, and you do that by tapping on the link an account. Takes you to the Feedly login, and at this point, you need to log in. I'm now logged in. I've got my account linked, and here's where you can configure things further. It pulls your categories, the categories of content, from the system, and you can then pick which categories you want. I'm going to pick them all because I want to show them all, but those are all the categories. You can define your read it later to use Save for Later by Feedly. I'm going to pick that one, and I'll leave that for the time being. So I'm going to say yes to that, and let's link Reddit as well. So I'm going to go into Reddit, I need to now link a Reddit account. I'm now linked into my Reddit account, and from here you can define whether you want to see all your subscriptions or specific subreddits, or search by tag. I'm going to pick a specific subreddit just to show that. It pulls the subreddits that you are subscribed to on Reddit, and you can pick which ones you want. You can also delete subscriptions or search for new subscriptions and add them here as well if you wanted to. And my read it later provider is either saved by Reddit or Pocket. I'm going to move to saved by Reddit just for the sake of showing it. Okay. So at this point, you'll notice we've got 3 providers. We've got the 3 providers set up. I want to hide viewed items, and I want the sort order to be oldest first. And there's a few other settings one can change, but I'll leave it as is for now. You'll notice the tap action on the icon is to toggle between the news providers. So that's the newsfeed setup in my general appearance section. What I want to do is pick a color fill for the background, and since I've saved my previous color fill, I can just restore it here by clicking on the unarchive or restore. And I should go back, and there you'll find the news widget. This is the RSS feed within the news widget. There's the Feedly feed within the news widget. And there's the Reddit feed within the news widget. So by tapping on the icon brings up the toggle between the different providers. You can also mark items as read. And by tapping on the title, toggles between unread items or all items, in case you've marked something red but you still want to see it. So if I go into RSS, mark everything red, and go into Reddit, mark everything as red, by switching between read and unread will show me the different content. The last thing I want to show in this video is the tasks widget. So I'm going to go in and add a new widget, Chronus tasks, there it is. Press and hold on it and drop it in place. Within the tasks widget, the exact same feature settings as before. We go into tasks. We need to allow access to contacts, and we need to link an account. So here you would select the particular account on your device. It'll link. You can pick one of your tasks list to show by default. And the tap action here is either to toggle between your different task lists, to refresh, or to open activities, etc. I'm going to switch to toggle task list, and I'm going to leave it like this and just say, okay, we're done. My general appearance here, I want to make the background color, I'm going to restore the color I saved before. And there is my task list. Now, you'll notice it shows the task list below the title. Tapping on the title switches between all tasks or just pending tasks. So all tasks include tasks that are completed. Pending tasks are incomplete tasks. Tapping on the title allows you to switch between your different task lists. And you could add a new task. Give it a title, give it a date, and decide what you want to do with this particular task. A couple of things you can do as well is you can tap on the date in a task to change the date if you need to. Or you can tap on the task item itself to change it. So due date, let's make this due date today, just to show it. And a few other things you can do here. If you go back into Chronus settings, I'm going to select the tasks widget. In the tasks settings, you can decide to show upcoming tasks in a different color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick light orange and dark orange, for example. And now in my widget, you'll notice that the tasks for today, which are my upcoming tasks, will show as highlighted in the color that I selected. Tapping on the date, you can clear the date from the task, and you can mark a task as completed by just tapping on the box. I'm going to uncomplete that task because I still need that. So that is the quick overview of the Chronus Tasks widget.